to. I remember playing Resident Evil over my friend Mike's house when I was still, I think maybe in elementary school. So would that come out in 96 or 97, the original?
Mm.
Or my friend Jeremy's house. He had more freedom than I. And oh yeah, you'd go over, and then I mean, once I got old enough, I just bought stuff and hid it in my
Mm-hmm.
room. But yeah, you got those options and you kind of go for it. But
Mm.
thank God we didn't have smartphones though.
So I watched a video just about how bad Pureflix is, how bad the quality is, and how the owner of it puts himself in every like the starring role of everything.
Hmm.
And I made the joke the other day to my wife that we should get Pureflix and only watch Pureflix.
Hmm.
Do you think that's a good way to hide ourselves and kids from the culture?
Like if someone chooses only to watch like Christian programming or whatever, I don't have any issue with that. I think that's fine.
Mm.
Uh, if someone has small children, well, and that's one thing too with like Pureflix. I know for a fact that young kids do like those movies because
Hmm.
they're not as critical. You know what I'm saying? Of the,
Of how bad they are.
you know, and also, yeah, I guess if someone has children, just as they get older, they're gonna want. It's all just about preparing them
Hmm.
for life as they get older,
Sure.
and letting them know what they will be exposed to, or
Hmm.
But I mean, they don't. You don't have to watch rated R movies with your kids in order to prepare them for,
Yeah.
for adult
Sure.
life. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't have any issue with it.
Hmm.
It's not I don't have a subscription to it personally,
Yeah.
but
I,
there's
I,
nothing
I think
wrong with it.
well, I just think it's bad quality in almost every sense. Bad writing and editing and stories. But you
Yeah,
you
but
meant
but also too, I mean, how many of those movies have you seen start to finish in reality?
like, more than I want to admit. I don't know,
No, I
maybe
know, but
like
I'm saying
10.
like they probably have hundreds of movies on their streaming service.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's and yes, I do agree the different certain like the I don't know what crew they are, but the crew that makes like the God's Not Dead movies
It's
and
the
that
guy.
and that sort of stuff. Um, they're definitely and fireproof and I've watched some of those. I haven't watched any recently that have come out maybe in like the past 5 years,
Hmm.
but I did like Courageous, the one with the cops.
Okay.
I did like that one. It's not my favorite movie, but I did
Hmm.
like it. I think when it comes to the Christian movies, I do have like a different standard. It's more, and it's, well, I don't know if we're going to get into Christian movies like right now. I mean, we can. For me, the issue is more so that it's not, generally speaking, the people that are creating those movies are kind of misunderstanding the point of a movie or
Hmm.
the point of a TV show and how to reach an audience through because in my opinion most of those are primarily sermons.
Hmm.
Like they're basically like if you took a sermon and tried to morph it into a movie, this is what it would look like.
Sure.
And it all leads up to that end, basically like altar call moment
Hmm.
with someone, the bad guy then turning to the Lord or whatever.
Hmm.
And sure, I want people to get saved and it's nice seeing depictions of people being saved, but that's not primarily what a movie or a TV show is supposed to be. And of course, it's subjective. Someone could say, I can, it could be whatever I want it to be. I'm the one who made it. Well,
Yeah.
sure,
That's art.
that's a valid point, but there's something about telling a story like they're fiction stories, and you can have a book or it can be a TV show, it could be a movie, it could be a variety of different ways, but you're telling a story
Hmm.
and you're inputting certain Christian principles, even if they're not overt. Like it could be better for them to be subtle. They might even be more effective to a wider audience if
Sure.
they are subtle,
Hmm.
And we think of like a great example being C.S. Lewis, the
Okay.
man who created the Chronicles of Narnia,
Mm.
and even that, you have an allegory, which is pretty obvious still, but it's still not so explicit that it's annoying.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
do.
and he's just an excellent writer anyway. But so I just give him as an example. So that's my thing, is that they're primarily sermons morphed into a movie,
Hmm.
which is the reason why, like, they're not my favorite. I understand, the point or the motivation
Hmm.
behind it, but I think that I think those appeal primarily to people who already are Christians, and probably have some people gotten saved from those movies. Almost certainly enough people have seen them where it probably happened, or someone who's like backslid or whatever,
Hmm.
who's probably. But I do think that the percentage of people like coming to the Lord through them are probably much lower than fans of those films might assume. I think it's
Sure.
primarily people who are already Christian. And people who are already Christian want entertainment as well, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But I do see them touted a lot as like kind of evangelistic tools. But my guess is that, just like altar calls themselves, probably not that effective.
Years ago, I was staying with a friend and his family for the summer, and they they had this rule, at least while I was living in their house. So when I moved in, I brought in a bunch of stuff, including DVDs, and the mom said, get these out of the room or get these out of the house, put them in your trunk, or they end up in the garbage. And I
Hmm.
said, okay. And there was plenty of movies in there that I don't have anymore. That I can understand her doing that.
Yep.
And she also didn't want us going to the movies and seeing rated R movies, even though at the time I was 20 and 21, and her son was 18. So she wasn't cool with rated R movies, and super against Harry Potter. She was, it
Yeah,
was one of those
that was a
household.
big one.
Yeah. So she was against the witchcraft and against the rated R movies. However, every Sunday night they would watch The Walking Dead as a family.
Did it end up being rated TVMA?
Yeah. It's
Um,
got the language of course, the violence.
yeah, it's got the language more of like a PG-13, but it's very violent,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. Yeah. So, and that show's still on, isn't it? Aren't they still making new seasons? Anyway, just that
Last I
show,
saw.
I guess it makes sense because it's like it will never die, like a
Mm-hmm.
zombie or something. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, uh, sure. Though I don't know. Did you ever ask, like, hey, why do you? Because it is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're telling an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old that they can't see any rated R movies,
Mm-hmm.
but then watching
Yeah.
it's a strange thing. Yes, it seems hypocritical. Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So I was aware that the family did that together, but I don't remember if I moved in when it would have been the first season or the second season. I know that of course they watched it together. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really ask questions, and I also didn't care to watch it,
Yep.
not because I was offended or anything like that. I mean, that family did more for me spiritually in my life than there was plenty of good there, but I just didn't want to watch it because I wasn't interested in a show about zombies at the time. But I just think of shows that you hear even pastors talking about from the pulpit. I know I've listened to a Christian podcast run by a pastor of a church, and he mentions Game of Thrones
Mm-hmm.
so much. And I just think, that's really what you want to put out? It's jarring when he mentions Game of Thrones because, for the obvious reasons, there's language, there's nudity, there's
Mm-hmm.
violence. I mean, it's got it all, and I think that was an HBO show.
Yeah. Perhaps he watches it via VidAngel.
Yeah. So
No, I think it is on VidAngel, and actually, we I think we do have a VidAngel subscription. I always forget about it because we never use it.
hmm
VidAngel is pretty sweet, just because there there are shows where the core storyline
hmm
has a crude element that it's basically irredeemable, but there are shows and movies where there's like if you just took out this swearing in like this one or two scenes, that it's actually a decent movie.
hmm
But they get sued by HBO. Well, not HBO, you said HBO, maybe saying that. Disney and all of the real big ones, and
Hmm.
they keep getting put like out of business, but they keep reemerging in a different form. But anyway, so anyway, but that's VidAngel is an interesting. I mean, I know this is basically off topic, but just parents, if you're interested in, you perhaps could even watch things that you want to watch. They have a lot of fairly well known movies and TV shows, but you can actually edit out stuff that you don't want to see. It's pretty cool.
Mm.
But yeah, so no, that's not good. Yes, that is strange if you're like at a Bible believing kind of, church that's biblically faithful or whatever, like
Mm.
it's not like basically we think Jesus is the same as Muhammad and not that sort of church.
Hmm.
But you're at a Bible believing church and that those are the illustrations that you're using, showing that you're like a huge fan or whatever. Yeah, not the best look.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's not just pastors, because when I did have social media, I saw other people that I either did go to church with or used to. And again, I mean, not to name drop shows or try to draw the line for people, but it's concerning when people get super excited about we said Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. I've seen people again professing Christians dressed up as like Harley Quinn, and I
mhm.
think that was a PG-13 movie, but the dress, her outfit is not PG-13. So,
Yeah, yeah.
if my daughter wanted to dress up as a Harley Quinn, that's a no. I'm trying to think of other Stranger Things. That's
Oh
another
yeah.
very popular show,
Yep.
and there's not much to it other than the language, but the language is, it depicts what 11-year-olds that are.
Yeah, yeah. We watched the first season of that, and then the second season we watched like a little bit of it. The language it's kind of like an 80s PG-13 movie with the language where it's
Mhm.
like it is PG-13 language, but there's a lot of it.
Mhm.
And it was an interesting storyline, definitely. And but by the second one, I think there might have been an increase in the foul language in the second
Mhm.
season, and I don't even know if we made it through the first episode. I'm like, I don't know.
Mhm.
And so anyway, we don't have Netflix now, but back then. So yes, I know what you're talking about. But yes, it's a very, very popular show. Yes, and you see, yeah, I remember young youth group kids being excited for the new season when it was going to come out. So I'm like, you
Mhm.
watched that? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or I don't know if you remember when we did the question of the week and we asked the kids their favorite movie and someone said It, or
Oh yeah.
and we went, what?
Oh yes, yes. Yep, and I remember certain kids that were going to see it or were going to see it for for the second time
Hmm.
or whatever. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember telling parents, hey, so I ended up seeing the Avengers movie, one of them, and there was some pretty tough swears in there. And that was it. But I remember telling some parents because they had 10-year-olds that they were going to go see it with, and I said, hey, just so you know, it's
Yeah.
not the hokey fun superhero movie you think, and here's some of the words that were in it that I remember. And I said,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't care, they love Spider-Man or they love this. And I mean, you
Yeah.
can't do anything after that point. But as a parent that likes to tell people how to parent, when I have a,
Well, you know what's up
yeah,
now.
I know everything now.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
Um.
But I do, it's true that when you have a kid, things change.
Yeah.
When I have a little girl who I don't want to be like at least some of the girls I went to high school with, you don't want, and you, of course, you look at the worst examples of that and you get a little scared. And I also don't want to be that parent. But, you know, we bring up things like music and TV shows and movies because that's such an easy thing to consume. And it's just the culture is everywhere. Politics are there, but even that, they're still not as enticing. I don't think, at least to kids.
Well, no, no.
Yeah.
It's more of an adult manifestation.
Hmm.
Sure.